Gompy the Goat is the famed mascot of the prestigious engineering school Worcester Polytechnic Institute. But what does a goat have to do with an engineering school?
All right, so we know a lot about Gompy the man. He was a graduate of the class of 1893. He was one of the first international students. He came from Japan, and he lived, if you read his memoir, he lived in and around WPI from the time he got here till he graduated. And he enrolled in 1890 because it was a 3-year college back then. And every class back then had its own mascot to kind of distinguish itself from the other classes at WPI. And the class 1893 decided to adopt a goat. They had a black goat. So it came to the person when they wanted someone to take care of the goat, Gompy Kawada, that's Gompy's real name. His initials were GK for goat keeper. So the legend goes. I'm sure it's kind of taken on a life of its own, like everything else surrounding Gompy and the goat's head. So they had this mascot for their second year in college. Summer rolls around, and it's too expensive to give him to somebody for the summer to keep, and no one can really take him home. So they decide to kill the goat, cut off its head, and stuff it, and hang it up when they come back to school the next year. And it's kind of their mascot, kind of their thing. So that's the first iteration of the goat's head. They had it, I forget what house had it, so the class had it. The year below them, the class of 1894, stole it in 1893 when the class was supposed to display it at a dinner. I forget, I think it might have been the halfway dinner they used to have, halfway through dinner. So instead of admit that the goat got stolen, the head's been missing, they bought another goat. Just looked exactly the same as the other one, and Gompy was in charge of that one. And again, at the summer came, cut off its head and stuffed it. So there's 2 goat's heads floating around. So the original goat's head, the legend goes, was taken to Nova Scotia for safekeeping. I don't know if that's true, but that's what everyone seems to agree on. And made a reappearance at the 20th reunion of the class of 1893 when they're having their big reunion dinner in one of the buildings on campus. It was lowered on a crane into the middle of the room by the class of 1894 to kind of ruin their reunion. So that they had to admit that the original goat head was stolen. I don't know what happened to the second goat head. There's been some iterations. Because of that reunion is when we have the bronze goat head. The class of 1893 donated a bronze goat head to WPI to be won. It was supposed to be a competition between the even and odd year classes, which I guess it still is today. It's kind of fallen out of favor through times in WPI. I know now it's kind of still around. Back in the, I guess, 50s and 60s, there's a big thing with the rope pull and the paddle rush. So that's why we have the goat's head. That's why it's named Gompy, because he was the original keeper. Athletics, I know we have pictures of a couple different versions of Gompy. There's one really creepy photo of him in overalls. It looks like it was handmade. We start seeing Gompy in the yearbooks with athletics in starting in the late 80s, early 90s. And he's been through different iterations ever since. I know we have 2 statues on campus, the one in front of admissions, and then there's also one down, the newer one down by the parking garage. The mascot of WPI has always been the engineers. We can figure that out looking back at how they describe themselves. But I don't know right now exactly when Gompy the Goat started. But there's a rich history. It just stayed in the minds of the students for so long, the story of the goat. It's a really interesting story. And it's something that I think everyone, like you said, everyone takes pride in Gompy. And everyone should know the story behind the man, too, because it's really interesting. He went back to Japan. He was involved in production for World War II. His memoirs are kind of great for kind of stories. And he kept in communication with WPI pretty much his whole life. And we do have, countless number of letters that he wrote to Professor Koumans, who still worked here up until like 1925 or 26 or something like that. So, yeah, that's what I got right now, just from knowing. Yeah.
Gompy has become more than just a mascot, but a symbol of the WPI student body. As written in our Tech Bible, Gompy the Goat embodies all that is treasured in WPI's deeply rooted traditions. Full of school spirit, Gompy makes frequent appearances at events that bring the entire school together as a community. Gompy can be seen everywhere at any time all over campus, from t-shirts to statues. One thing's for sure, Gompy the Goat will stick around for many years to come.